Well, I'm gonna avoid some homework and do this tonight. Why not? Uh, and I'm gonna be reviewing Jungle Kayne and pretty pretty interesting team comps to be playing against and with. Um, so at the start of a game, I always like going over a little bit of win conditions, uh, and that this game is a bit tricky. And it's tricky because the enemy team has a lot better team fight than your team, with a Guardian Angel to keep the Jinx alive, a Shockwave, and an Amumu ult. Your team has really good pick though. With Renekton to frontline if he gets ahead, and depending upon which form you go as Kayne, you can do different roles. Playing against this comp with the Zillion having his ultimate, I would strongly recommend Red Kayne because you're going to be able to then do a little more crowd control, a little more tank busting, and you're probably not going to be able to assassinate anyone with the Shadow form. But what this means you need to be looking for is your mid game is going to be centered around your pick potential, and it doesn't mean you're going to assassinate someone, it means you're going to pick smart fights. And that's where you have your number advantages and you can win kind of skirmish team fights. If you're looking at pick potential, Zillion Guardian Angel mid game can screw you over pretty damn good. So you need to be finding a pick on someone where it's either not the Zillion, he's not there, you have your number advantage, so you just win the team fight, or maybe you get the pick on the Zillion. So since that's what you're looking for, I would be focusing. I think I'd be focusing bot lane this game. If you can get the Caitlyn ahead, that's going to win you your team fights. Because a Caitlyn with, solid output, solid damage, and if you can put the Jinx behind, that means your front line is going to be able to last longer than their front line just because your AD carry is going to be putting more damage out. The Orianna is going to have some crowd control and some good team fight pressure, even if you camp her lane. And the Ahri is not going to do too much with her pick potential is like single target burst damage, and the Zillion could probably screw that over pretty well. So I would be focusing your bottom lane. And you could look a little bit towards top because a frontline Renekton that can dive is also kind of scary, but I think that your best bet would be going for bottom or getting yourself a little bit ahead. Again, the reason you want to be doing that is because if your Caitlyn out DPSs the Jinx, you're just going to win fights because of that. With the Zillion and this strong team fight power, your ability to get ahead this game is by getting the Caitlyn strong enough so she can get those towers, and if you do get those fights that you are looking for, those skirmishes, she'll put enough damage out to make it so that way you win regardless. Okay, so if you're looking for that, right, you're looking for getting the Caitlyn ahead, and you're getting a standard clear, I'm guessing. Starting Raptors? Hmm. There's nothing wrong with doing a standard clear. Uh, Especially with better leashes and stuff. Starting Raptors is okay. Starting Red Buff I think would be a little bit. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. Kayne's got good clear. With doing this, one of the best advantages for your team is you let them get priority over here. I kind of wish that they had set up in these bushes like Thresh is doing, uh, but you can't control what your team does. You take the camp pretty nicely. And Amumu's probably going to be farming this game, right? Um, so let's see. So your early game strategy this is to clear apparently, and if your focus is to go bottom early, this is pretty good. It seems like you're cutting towards top. Okay. Um, you were probably watching the map a little better than I was to see Amumu's health there. But I don't think that I would have looked for that. So you're clear that you decided to do. You decided to go for 4 camps, and then you also were going for Scuttle, probably because you were too late to go for the gank top. That's probably what you were thinking, right? Okay. So uh, to let's talk about this. So look at your health here, and you're at a very aggressive part of the map. On 3 o'clock, you know, three to 3.5 minutes, that's when junglers are typically looking to gank mid or bottom. So you're at a very dangerous location with almost no health. And this is why you decide to take the Scuttle, right? Well, honestly, no. If you're going to be taking the Scuttle at this point in time, you are risking something that you don't need to risk because you're going down here before you know where the Amumu is. Yeah, before you know where the Amumu is, you're walking into a really dangerous area. So I think this means you're not planning your early game. You're probably looking to be adaptive, right? That's probably what you're going for, to respond to whatever the enemy does. And you should not be trying to counter gank the Amumu because you have more pressure than he does early game. You should be the one who is creating the pressure, creating plays. Instead, if you're responding to him, then you're always going to be late to this. So look, Renekton's not going to be able to help you over here. They have health advantage, and then you start looking up here. But what happens if they both started looking down for you? Because, I mean, I know he didn't, but you couldn't win this 2v2. You wouldn't have. You were too late to go towards top lane. So, I mean, there's a standard clear would have gotten you top lane in time to do a 2v2, and your 2v2 is probably better. You have a better level 1 and 2 and 3 than Amumu. Amumu is maybe has a better 6, I don't know. Team fight wise, yes, but in a 2v2 comparable. So, but you do this long clear, and the point of a long clear, it's greedy, right? A long clear is greedy, and you get yourself more camps, more gold, more experience, but you're also not going to be able to help your lane as much. Now, if you're playing towards what I thought your win condition was, towards bottom lane, it would be fine. Because if you got all of your camps and you also did Gromp, right, you then would have essentially done the exact same thing that you just did, except for you wouldn't have burned a Mumu's flash, you wouldn't have shown yourself, and you might have been able to look for this gank a little bit later. And I know you didn't have health to do Gromp, but I don't think you would have been able to do Scuttle here in most cases. That was really risky Scuttle. Let's see. And you're running good armor, so I guess it's just Kayne's clear. All right, so let's go back and look at things that you could have done. So Amumu's clear. Amumu also does all of his camps, and he out clears you, and he's going for his gank. So for the start of this play, I would have taken this for vision. If I had taken this for vision, and with this ward over here, if you had done the blast cone thing up, I would have been pretty comfortable getting Scuttle, so you could have done Scuttle. It was really this is a really unnecessary risk. And you're not in a position to counter gank, you're not in a position to gank. Right now, you are only a vulnerability? I don't think that's the right word. You're only going to cause problems for your team with this low of health and this position on the map. Um, and after you take Scuttle, you get a little bit more healthy, but It's not something you should not be looking for this right away. And now you're still looking for this gank. Okay, so you're trying to force something, right? And you're not thinking about your win conditions. You're not thinking about what summoner spells have been forced, and you're not even thinking really about this 2v2 matchup, because Darius can play one kill behind and he'll just teleport back to lane. So the only way you're going to win top lane here is if you gank it like 3 times in a row. And if you're putting that much focus on this side of the map, you're expecting this to be your win condition, and it's not. If a Renekton gets really far ahead, he can stop laning phase, but their team fight, it's so much better than your team fight. You need to be playing towards something else, because Renekton being your front line is not what you really need to be getting ahead. A tank scales regardless. That's why people hate like Maokai, because he just scales regardless. These champions need something to scale. The reason that AD carriers go bottom lane and stuff like that with a support is because they need money to scale. So if you come bottom and you deny their carry money and you get your carry money, you're winning this lane. If you go top lane, they're going to have a stalemate either way. So you're staying here, you've ganked it once already, and you've spent a minute up here so far. And you give up a kill. See, you're not judging these fights well. So not only did you waste your time up here, not only are you trying to play towards the wrong side of the map, but your aggression here forces both of your deaths. And this is the exact same thing as what I was talking a little bit earlier with not thinking about your win condition and not planning your route. So you're not thinking about the game whenever you're starting. Your play seems very reactive, and then this over here, you're just trying to get a gank off, and you're forcing it way too hard in a way that you really just don't need it. Yeah. Okay. Now you're already put in a very bad spot. Um. So, let's see. I already thought that you should be playing towards the bottom side of the map. Um, and if you were playing towards bottom, you could also be looking towards middle. Ahri isn't really a win condition for her getting ahead. She could put out damage for like a team fight. Yes, she got really good damage with her Q, but I always think of her as a little more bursty and assassination oriented. Her team fight isn't quite as good as Caitlyn's, but it's still better than Renekton's in a like output damage fashion. Uh, let's see. So you go back top lane. Maybe you think you're trying to stop the bleeding. Okay, you just fed top lane, so you're coming up, or maybe you're planning on clearing down. Oh my gosh. So you really play towards the wrong side of the map. I don't know if you really favor top lane, because maybe this is just your style to favor top. And you look towards mid. This is a really good gank. Yeah, there's no reason to really stay for that. After. So I think you walk away a bit too soon here. Um, I also your ability that you missed is kind of a whatever. She has no mana, so she couldn't really chase that. And you weren't 6, so you couldn't really chase it too well either. You didn't have a red buff, etc. I don't think you would have gotten a kill off of that, but I would have stayed a little bit longer. And it was a really good idea to gank that lane, though. If she had started with her charm, I think you would have been able to get this. Let's see. Yeah, she doesn't charm right away. So if she had played that a bit better, I think you would have had that. Okay. So I'm not sure if you know this, but I'm gonna guess you do. It's good to know. I'll talk about it anyways, even if you know it. But you can always predict where the enemy jungler is going to be based off of when their camps spawn. Whenever they made this change where they showed on the minimap when your camp spawned, it just got so much easier to know where people are. And whenever you see this thing is yellow, you know they're playing towards that side of the map. Whenever you see that it spawns, they're most likely there. If they're clearing optimally, this is what they'll do. If they're not, then they're a lot harder to predict. But, you only need to win more than 50% of your games to climb. And this is something that's going to happen in more than 50% of your games. In those other games where they're just somewhere else randomly, they'll put themselves behind just as often as they'll put themselves ahead. So in that other, 40% of your games that they don't do this, you'll win with a standard clear, like over half the time. So you're kind of walking around, you're catching experience. Um, let's see. Hmm. So this whole game, you've been setting yourself up to be playing on the top side of the map. I don't know if you've noticed this or not, but your clear route right there, that means you're going to have to play towards top side. And I don't know why your bottom lane went mid. That's a really weird choice. But I mean, if they might get something, I don't think they will, but okay, that's just weird. You gave up first tower for no reason. Uh I'm not sure why that happened at all. I don't think that was out of frustration or necessity. I don't know why they went mid. Okay, so the Caitlyn's just randomly following Thresh while he roams. Okay. Uh and you don't even get the kill. Oh my gosh. Uh Okay. And you see, remember how I told you you're forced to play on this side of the map right now? Well, like, look what happens over here. Because you were playing towards the other side of the map. I know that, like, you probably couldn't have held this tower alone, right? And, I surely don't think that you would have even been here. But this is the type of shit that happens whenever you're playing on the wrong side of the map, because you can't even show up there if you wanted to. I mean, you showed up mid to catch that wave for experience, right? So you obviously do show up to waves, and that's a good thing to show up to waves. I didn't have a problem with you coming mid, but you can't show up to this, and we give up first tower for no reason at all. The Thresh roam was a little bit weird, and the Caitlyn following it was a little bit weird. Uh, but you can't control all the time what your team does. What you can do is you can set your team up to make it so that way they have less questionable plays to make. And what you have done this game so far is you have fed 2 kills to top lane, so you feel like you need to play towards top lane, and you have completely abandoned bottom lane. You haven't looked at it this game. You got one good gank off mid. That mid lane gank was actually really nice, and that's what you want to try and look for. Um, it didn't work out, and again, you can't always get your teams to do the right thing, but that was a pretty good gank mid. So you're going to continue your clear, and I'm betting you're just gonna go. Yeah, so you go mid, you try and get this, and you can't. You got no camps bottom. You have to go top again. Again, you're clear. Okay, okay. And you're using your wards. That's a pretty good ward. That's a pretty good ward. I think it was a risky time to get that though. Yeah. Again, you really disrespect the enemy missing because the bottom laners aren't here, you know, and they ping you. They ping you. So they got a ward in here. They know you're here, and you still walk into their jungle even after it looked like the mid laner was responding to you. Now she's yeah, she's hovering over here. She's walking over here. That's really dangerous. That's the second time you've done this, so that means this is a habit. You don't respect enemy vision, and you don't respect the health you have. So like the blind walk-in over here was just as dangerous because you didn't have health. This blind walk-in is really dangerous because you didn't know where the enemy laners were. So a Mumu, the Zillion, and the Jinx could have been in here. Because maybe they were walking to Dragon, right? And then they saw you on this ward, and then they came over, and Orianna came this way. Getting a kill on you here means that they have a lot of pressure to potentially get a Dragon, or they could just group middle, because a Jinx has really good siege. The Orianna, if she didn't ult you, could then zone away anyone who come to try and counter siege. So that's a pretty big problem. And you're clearing. Huh. Hmm. Mechanically, I feel like you played that okay. I feel like your mechanics are fine. Your early game judgment is really lacking though. From your warding over here to where you decided to play for your macro, and your disrespect over here, your force gank up here. Your early game is really troubling. Your mechanics are fine, and your clearing is pretty good. Like from a you do your camps and you're not always looking for gank standpoint, but the directions you clear forces you onto the wrong sides of the map. And I don't know if that's because you don't think it's your win condition or if it's because you just don't think about it when you're clearing. Yeah, because now you're on the wrong side of the map when your red buff spawns. So it's not an optimal clear route. Obviously, you're not thinking about your camps. You're thinking about where you, as if you need to be here. And I mean, I know you gave him a kill early, but that's the wrong mindset. You don't want to be playing to stop the bleeding, because whenever he's only one kill behind or something, he wasn't. Okay, he had 2 kills at that point, right? That lane can still get out okay. But if you go back there and you get that lane 2 kills, you're now even. You are not ahead. If you went bottom lane and you got 2 kills, you are now ahead in that lane. So think of it like this. If you get this lane to go and push up, you're relieving pressure on the other side of the map because they have to respond to the pressure you create over here. And by responding to this Darius all throughout early game, oh, and I'm guessing you're leaving red up for the Caitlyn? No? So I guess you just don't know where to be because you walk past this. You don't even ward. You come back. Okay. I don't think you needed to ult that. Okay. Those were both really good judgment calls. Whenever you saw the Jinx over here to go for that was really good, and to see this over here and wait for the Zillion ult and go for it was also really good. Um, I I I guess I also would have looked for that kind of, and you're trying to stop the bleeding again. I would have stayed mid or gotten a vision on this. Yeah, you have two wards right now, and someone even pinged this on the enemy team. Someone pinged the Herald, so they were thinking about it, right? And your team has no vision around here and no control on the top side of the map, and there's not really anything you can do about that. So what do you do here, right? Your bottom lane is, at best, you can consider them even, and your top lane is really far behind, and your jungle, honestly, you're a little bit ahead, but in like a team fight scenario, the Amumu is probably even with you. So what should you be doing? Well, your Caitlyn wants to set up for siege, your Renekton looks like he wants to split, and your Ahri looks like she wants to stay grouped for wave clear. So at this point of the game, I would set up one ward around here, but we already have one kind of close, so maybe it's not too necessary. You see, the bottom wave is going to be pushing really hard in just a little bit, so going mid right now is a good idea. They're also kind of low, and my idea would be whenever they respond to the bot wave, to go up with the pressure that Renekton creates and take Herald. If you take Herald here, you can then use that to take a... Herald is almost the equivalent of a tower. If you're even and you get Herald, it's a tower. If you're behind and you get Herald, it's honestly not that worthwhile. If you're ahead and you get Herald, it's like 3 towers. Herald is really good for snowballing early leads, or for getting you 1 tower if you're kind of even. Think of Herald as like... the old buff was really strong on split pushing, but the new one is like extending your lead. That's what this is. If you're tied, it's not much. If you're behind, it's worthless. Unless you're denying it, then it's good. But going mid and waiting out this, so that way you could go and group for Herald. And they dive really aggressively. I wouldn't be looking for them. I'd be looking up to this and wave clear. The Renekton's overstaying. You're walking up. You ward this. You trying to save him. Okay. I respect this decision to come over and help him here. I think it's a bit risky, because we also saw that Darius was up here, and he's probably going to be able to loop around. So one of the big questions you always need to ask yourself is, what are you going to get after, or what can they get after killing you? So if you come to this fight and you win, best case scenario, right, you probably kill 2 of them, and the Darius is still alive, and you can't get top tower, and you can't get mid tower because the wave clear is back. Jinx is going to push this out really fast. I would have stayed mid for this tower, because if you let them kill the Renekton over here, the only thing they can do after that is clear this. Because mid lane, they're going to be too far away from it. Darius was already up here, and they were already chasing this kill. And Zillion's not going to be able to wave clear too well. So with 3 people attacking this turret, it's going to die. And the Zillion doesn't have ult, so you could have potentially forced a dive really quickly on him. But instead, everyone follows these fights, and the neutral scenario happens of you get a couple kills, maybe, and no objectives. Actually, you end up getting mid turret still. Caitlyn does the right thing. This was a right call because it doesn't matter if you get that kill; it's not going to amount to anything. And Ari ults the wave. Is that what I just saw over here? What the heck? And now you guys got to respond to bottom. Okay. So, okay, at this point, what should you be doing? At this point, I would be sacrificing the dragon in the bot side of the map. We just saw the Darius top lane, but he vanished. Okay, whenever the top laner is top and he vanishes, and you have this situation, you need to be thinking about where they would be going next. So, mid lane is a good idea to group for them because it's the last outer. Bottom lane has a lot of pressure on it. This means that in all odds, he's not going to be top wave. So if you go up top right now, you're probably sacrificing Dragon and 2 kills to get 1 tower and Herald. I think that's worthwhile. Because if you get Herald off of this, and you get a tower, you could potentially create pressure later by using that Herald in another lane. You could maybe snowball another tower if they're trying to push your mid turret, and you kind of need that right now. Tower gold, like on this over here, would be good for your team. So the dragon also, I think a lot of people overvalue dragons. I don't think dragons are worth suiciding for. I don't think that the stats they give change the the play. So Ocean Dragon is really good for like mana regen and health regen. And yeah, I can respect that. Air Dragon gives you movement speed, Fire Drake gives you more damage, Earth Drake gives you more damage to objectives. But whenever you think about this, these don't win games. They give you the potential to get an objective later. Mana regen, you can stay longer in lane and get a pick. A health regen, you can stay longer in lane and get. Fire Dragon, you can win team fights, which lets you get towers, and Earth Drake, Baron, and towers, etc., etc., etc. But none of that is guaranteed. If you suicide for a dragon, then that means that they have the advantage and can force an objective later. And if you lose a turret for dragon, that wasn't worth it at all. Because you just traded the possibility of getting an objective later for a fucking objective. Which is stupid. Never do that. So if you're thinking about that same logic, what I just said, and if you agree with it, then that means that trading this tower and the possibility of another tower for kills and the possibility of a tower, it's an extremely worthwhile trade. And this is under the assumption that the Darius would respond to either this aggression or towards the outer. He could still be playing top lane, and I don't know for certain if you'd be able to kill him in a 2v1, but you probably could. I think that there's a 60% chance you could. And sure as heck, Amumu's not here right now because his blue buff just spawned and the dragon's up, right? Amumu's not going to be on the top side of the map. See, Amumu's down here. And Darius, let's watch where he walks. I did not watch this beforehand. This is just the assumptions that you should make. So, okay. Amumu's down here and he's going to get dragon. You're over here. You're almost on the play that I suggest. You start the Herald and you expect him to get this by himself. Excellent, 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 excellent. That is what you wanted to do. And he dies for it, but that's totally fine. They're taking a fight bottom. You push mid, and then you run away. Good. You give red. That was exactly what you wanted to do. That was perfectly done. And now you're clearing, and Renekton's creating pressure over here. Okay. So I think you show up to this early. You don't want to be here yet. They can just dive you. And you need to just wait for your carries to come back. So, okay, let's think about what you contributed here and what you could have done. So being here right now means that, let's see, they don't get a turret? No, they still got mid turret. Look at this, look at this. All right, you show up, great, and you walk away and they get the turret. Now maybe you prevent them from getting a second turret, right? But let's look at this time and way back here, right? So one of the ways you can respond to pressure is by creating pressure. So I would have gone top lane and cleared this. Because if you went top lane to clear this, they have two choices. To either chase you down or try and push mid. Now if they pushed mid, your carries were going to be up and your thresh was going to be up in 33, 35 seconds or whatever. But if you saw this, you didn't contribute jack shit to this turret. And if they had stayed to try and get this turret, then you know what that means? Well, one, you would have had extra time on this wave, and you had the Herald to pop down for potentially getting this, and maybe even more. Probably not more, but maybe. You know, there's a chance. Like, Renekton could have teleported up and stuff. Maybe. But your bottom lane very likely would have been able to hold the inhibitor, and there's a, good chance they would have also been able to hold the inhibitor turret. Okay, and then the second scenario, the Darius comes top lane. If the Darius comes top lane, then the same scenario plays out where they can't get this turret. Right? Because they wouldn't have just had the damage, and your team could have just forced them off. And in that scenario, your team could have potentially even gotten kills mid because they saw, oh, the other guy's top lane, let's overstay. But instead you respond mid, and you don't do anything. So look at this, look at the time, right? From here. So 21, you don't do anything. 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 You spent a minute AFK. And whenever you think about a minute on this wave, do you know how quickly you clear waves? I'm sure as heck you know how quick you clear waves. You were going to clear this wave in one Q and one other ability, and you know what? You would have cleared all the way up to probably here in that time. And if you popped down the Herald, you would have gotten a tower too. And you would have traded for that. And if you want to be thinking about, I wanted to be there for the team fight, right? Well, your team's not going to win team fights right now. Not against a fed Darius front line and an even back line. If they dive you, you've seen them dive you already. With a Zillion ult, it doesn't work out for you guys. It doesn't. So what you need to be doing is you need to be thinking about creating pressure at other parts of the map. Because the way you set up fights that you win is by making things they have to respond to, like this. Orianna, their team fight was down here. Amumu also, I think, was down here moments ago, and I think Renekton killed him. Yeah, that's it. That's exactly what happened. See, this is how your team has the chance to win. Creating pressure on the other part of the map. And then look, Renekton knows he can stay for this because Orianna, is dead and mid lane's over here. So this is a really smart play by Renekton, and this aggression here is also really smart by Renekton. But you need to be thinking about what you can do like this too. Because now they're definitely going to respond to the Renekton, right? Orianna's going to come down here. The Amumu's dead. So think about that. And if you had pressure going on the other side of the map, you would have been doing a lot more for your team. Okay. And now instead, they had pressure on this side of the map for a second, and they could have rotated here. Could have. Didn't. And it wouldn't have been the best call this game, but that shows you what could have happened. And you still have no control on the top side of the map, even though you've focused your entire game on the top side of the map. And now you put down the Herald kind of carelessly, and you base. So let's look back at this play and why it's different. So you want to look and you want to count with me. All right, you've done your counting, right? This is 4. So whenever your team has pressure like this over here, and your team's over here with 3, and you're over here, you're in the wrong spot. And why it was different moments ago, whenever I was telling you that exact same play, right? Count with me again. And if you're looking at death timers, the death timers were going to be 3 mid. So you know how I was telling you want to do stuff that creates advantages on other parts of the map? Well, the advantage on the other part of the map was, Renekton right now for your team, and he was creating the response. But you kind of flipped the tables on yourself and gave them the advantage by your location later on. You already had done what you needed and pushed out this wave, and you're on this side of the map. And I honestly, at this point, agree with you. You want to be on this side of the map with Baron up, but you see these people grouping mid, right? The Jinx isn't here yet, sure. But if you're just going to pop Herald down, you don't need to walk all the way up here to do that. And now it's too late for you to do anything. You kind of randomly ult. So if you were showing up to this fight after it was over, you could have been on this tower. If you were on this tower, you could have recalled and been in time for this, because you obviously didn't change that fight. They still killed you and got what they wanted. And I don't know if you would have been able to force a second tower, but if you looked at what was happening, you had pressure on the bottom and pressure on the top for trading mid. They would have had to choose which one they wanted to respond to. And that potentially could have led you to another turn. Now, I'm not saying that would have been like a perfect call, but you weren't here, and when you originally weren't here and you were out of position over here with the Herald, and you show up after they're dead, then you're not making sense. Because there's 4 of them, and there's 1 of you, and they're all like full health. You're not going to do anything in that fight. So in that situation, just keep creating pressure. Because honestly, they're not going to win the game there. Because you're gonna get a little pressure over here, and you're gonna base in time anyways. If they kept going for it, and if they kept going for it, you potentially could have fought here, and I don't know. Maybe it would have been a good fight. Maybe it wouldn't have been a good fight. I don't know. You guys have dragon control right now, which doesn't really matter. Because at this point, you're like trading Baron control for dragon control. This is really terrible team positioning. But that was good. That was really good. So this isn't bad. That's a little unlucky, but it works out. Yeah, nicely done. So, what I'm thinking right now, just to put you on my thought process. You want bot wave to be slow pushing, so that way you have a little bit of pressure over here eventually. You want to make sure mid wave is always pushed out to about here, so you can not get flanked and respond where you need to. And you getting top lane pushing was a great idea as well. If top lane is pushing, then you have more time to respond mid, and you have a little more control over the Baron side of the map. You got really lucky with the dragon earlier, and for some reason Amumu was fucking up here. I don't know, but this was actually really good positioning. This is honestly like the first time I think that you were on the right side of the map at the right time, and it's because you're creating Baron control. You're getting vision down in an important place. I think this is a really good spot since you already have a pink on Baron and a normal ward. This whole thing is actually executed really nicely by you. And what's happening mid lane now, because of what you just did, you killed the Jinx. They're really not going to be able to get too much mid with 2 or 3 people mid. And now you got 3 people mid, and you get another kill. Nice. You respond to this. That's pretty good. I and you head back top. Okay. Unlucky. Um, you played this out pretty well. I would have done a little bit more to try and keep myself alive here instead of diving like that, but I think that it works out pretty nicely. Is it frozen? Fuck. Yeah, hang on. I'm gonna reboot it. Alright, so we were about... Where were we? Probably around here. No, we were just at the quadra kill. Yeah. Okay. So, you turn back onto the Orianna. Alright. Ulting the Darius here is a little bit questionable. I would have ulted the Jinx. She was also within range, I think. I'm pretty sure you would have been able to... I don't know what you actually smited. But look at what the Jinx ended up doing. And look where she was. If I... Did it just fucking freeze again? Yeah, Jinx was right next to you and stunned. And if you had smite for her, I'm pretty sure you smited this fight. But if you smite her and then ult her and then you're on top of her, you could have killed her before she was able to kill Renekton. And look, she also kiting out your team right here. I know you ended up getting that, but it just maybe I don't know. Maybe since Red King gets health back, you wanted to do that. It's fine. You being dead though means that your team can't really Baron because they'd have a Mumu getting up soon and coming over to that. I'd be trying to get Baron control. Oh yeah, just turn on our vision. What am I doing? And where are you? You're here with your team. So you did a great job creating a big wave up here. Your bottom wave, I think, is going to push to them. Maybe not. Nah, it's going to push towards you. So since you have such a huge wave, top wave, and your mid inhib is down, this is a really tough play. Because you don't have teleport, you can't send Renekton bottom, and in this case, you've got to play with vision over here, and that means that you've got to get a pink ward, and you've got to start putting it. Wait, what? You fucking got 2 pink wards, and neither. Is this yours? If it is yours, I don't know why it's over here. Okay, if this is yours, it should not be right here. It should be at least in these other bushes because your primary objective is Baron. And secondly, this is what you should be doing right now. You should be trying to bait the Baron in order to get them to take a stupid fight. And you can win team fights at this point, apparently, because your Caitlyn was able to play that out pretty well. And instead, you're choosing to control the bottom side of the map, which is going to stack up against you really fast. And you know they have to respond over here soon, so that means they have to be rotating over here soon, which means you probably are going to be able to catch someone out between mid lane and top lane if you started setting up over here. And you got your pink wards, and you got a trinket. I would actually have a red trinket at this point to deny vision, but you're setting up on the wrong side. And then you see that Amumu's gone, right? Well, you see that Amumu's gone, but that means that... Oh, no. That doesn't matter at all. And now you're split. Did someone clear that? I think someone did. Must have. So you see what happens here. You just stall out games. And this right here is how you end games. You do Baron. And you bait Baron, and you predict where they'll rotate between, right here, top and mid, so you can catch people. Your idea was to go for Dragon. Now tell me what Ocean Dragon's going to do for your team at this point. And obviously that's a rhetorical question. The Ocean Dragon's not going to do shit for your team. Anyone that has mana issues should already have solved that. So, you know, that's not going to solve mana problems. Anyone who has health problems, it's not going to do shit at this point because all you need is to force them off of Baron and take Baron, and then it doesn't matter if you have health regen because they're just going to dive you. Ocean Dragon is worthless. If you see the Amumu over here, set up for something on Baron, bait them into this fight, and get your picks and get your kills. But instead, you try and force something mid, realize you're not going to get something, and then rotate towards Dragon. And if that was your pink ward and that was your objective to rotate towards this Dragon, you're not making the right call. Because you see what happens is, yes, you did respond to this wave and you got this wave, but your top wave was responded to. So you just traded pressure. And look, the Jinx just responded over here, but you're not able to do anything because now your Renekton's responding and blah, 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 stalling out the game. And now we're back to this, where we're just counting on the Renekton to create pressure over here, and hopefully he's got teleport. He does. That was unlucky positioning by Caitlyn, but yeah. So, since the game's over with this, summary. Your early game, you're not thinking about your win condition. You're not thinking about which side of the map to play towards. You played towards top side way too much early game. Even though Renekton did a lot this game, he was not your win condition. And if you look at that quadra kill earlier, that quadra kill shows you the Caitlyn was your win condition. You want to watch that again? I kind of want to watch it again. She plays that out actually really nicely going that far back. Wow, actually, okay, she stays out a little bit longer than I would have liked. Okay, okay, she just last hit. Never mind. um, but yeah, aside from that, okay. So playing towards the wrong side of the map, in my opinion, and you also took two unnecessary risks getting this scuttle whenever you didn't have vision, putting down this ward when you didn't have vision. This ward was a good ward, but it was at a bad time. You're also reactively, sorry, words are hard. Reactively playing instead of proactively playing. You were trying to counter gank after, the Amumu already ganked. Means you're waiting for them to make moves on a jungler that should be proactive. Kayne's pretty strong early, Amumu is not. And that was your 4 camp clear. If you had done 3, you would have been there in time for that skirmish. I don't know if you would have won it since, you died to the Darius anyways, but whatever. You're also clearing to make yourself on this top side so much whenever you already had your laner behind. And as I had mentioned, they're going to do their role regardless. It doesn't matter. If you had gotten bottom more ahead, I think that would have been better. Your dragon control is almost unnecessary. The 2 times you got dragon, I think that you shouldn't have been able to get it. Like your first dragon over here, you get a really lucky fight. Like for some reason the Amumu's up here and then they waste shockwave. And you're fighting for this objective that should have had all of them here to respond to you whenever Baron was also up, so they could have potentially just traded objectives. So, this is, you shouldn't have gotten this. And I'm not saying, like, it was a bad call. I'm just saying that for some reason the enemy let you get it. And then the second one was a bad call, and they let you get it, but it was a bad call. You choose to create your control on the wrong side of the map, forcing the dragon control, when you could have set up for Baron control. And okay, so your problems is unnecessary risks, the scuttle, and this ward. Your problem is you don't create pressure when you need to, and you show up to fights late. Whenever you were over here, that was a minute you wasted. Whenever they had 3 people. And when they had 4 people over here, you popped down Herald, and you still showed up whenever it was too late and your team was already dead. So the first time you showed up when you didn't need to, and the second time you showed up late. That means you're not judging their pressure and what they're going to do. You actually had really good prediction, like with your Herald take and the tower take over here, right? So you knew where people were going to rotate to and where you could control the map in the middle of the game. But the later part of the game, you had no idea. So your early game is unnecessary risks, your mid game is good, and your late game you have the worst Baron control. Like, you need to be focusing on the Baron. You focusing on the dragon when you really don't need to. You had 2 pink wards, and like, if you have 2 pink wards in your inventory while you still have 1 down and you've got no sweeper, I'm not sure why you're doing that. Because if you're doing pink wards to control the map, right, then get a sweeper. If you're doing this to get vision, then think about where you're putting this vision. Because you don't fucking care about the dragon right now, you care about the Baron. And yes, you have a ward on this, but you know what? Controlling their vision by denying it is just as important as you getting vision yourself. I think that you mechanically play this fight well. I think that mechanically you played your mid lane gank well, and it was a great decision to go gank mid. It was a great decision to get Herald and let them take top lane. So you do have some moments of really good decision making, but your problem is responding to enemy pressure whenever they had the 3 people mid and you thought you needed to be here, and then the other time when they had 4 people mid. So unnecessary risks and then responding to pressure. Those are your 2 biggest problems, followed by closely this Baron control. And then later on, my opinion is you played towards the wrong side of the map, and that's an opinion. Vernekton ended up doing a lot for your team, so I could have been wrong here. Uh, Anyways, that's the end of this. I got nothing else.